All right, today we're going to dig into a pretty incredible story of resilience coming straight from the world of gold mining. We're looking at how one company, PTJ Resources Asia Pacific, we'll just call them PSAB, managed to navigate a perfect storm of challenges and, believe it or not, came out stronger on the other side. Let's get right into it. So this is really the core question, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing to just survive a crisis. But to completely transform your operations and lock in your future while you're at it, that's a whole different level. So how on earth did PSAB manage to pull that off? Let's find out. Okay, first things first, let's get our bearings. Who are we talking about? Well, PSAB is a major player in the Southeast Asian gold scene. Their operations are mostly based in Indonesia, but they also have a really important asset just across the strait in Malaysia. Here's a look at their main sites. You've got the Bakan and Seruyung mines in Indonesia, which are the real workhorses, plus the Pinjau mine in Malaysia's famous gold belt. But, pay close attention to that last one on the list, the Dupe project. It's not producing yet, but trust me, it is absolutely central to understanding their long-term game plan. Now, before we dive into the numbers, let's just quickly nail down a super important term, ore reserves. The easiest way to think about this is it's the gold they have in the bank. It's not just a guess about what's in the ground, it's the proven, confirmed gold they know they can get out profitably and legally, right now. For any mining company, this number is basically their lifeblood. And wow, was that lifeblood put to the test. Between 2021 and 2024, PSAB went on an absolute financial roller coaster. I mean, production tanked, revenues nosedived, and the company was forced to make some seriously tough calls. So our story really kicks off in 2021. The pandemic was still raging, and it hit PSAB hard. They only produced about 116,000 ounces of gold, which was a big step down. They even had to pause work at their main Bakan mine just to stop the spread of the virus. This was, you could say, the beginning of the pressure cooker. And then came 2022. Oof. This was the bottom. Production just fell off a cliff, down to under 56,000 ounces. That's less than half of what they did the year before. At this point, things looked incredibly grim. But then, the turnaround started. In 2023, production shot back up to almost 94,000 ounces. That is a massive 68% jump in just 1 year. This wasn't just some lucky bounce. This was the first real proof that whatever they were doing to fix things was actually starting to work. And you can see exactly how those production numbers tell a dramatic financial story. Look at this. In 2021, a small loss. Then 2022, the floor just drops out. Sales were cut in half, and they post a $16 million loss. But then watch the rebound. By 2023, they're already back in the black, just barely, and by 2024, they're booking nearly $18 million in profit. So the big question is, how did they do it? Well, they did it by looking right past the immediate crisis. Instead of just frantically cutting costs, PSA made these really smart long-term investments to rebuild their foundation and make sure they had a solid pipeline for future growth. Let's go back to that Dupe project. Even during their absolute worst years, they just kept pouring money into it. In 2021, they got the power grid connected. In 2022, the year they lost all that money, they were busy building camps and water treatment plants. And by 23 and 24, they were getting deep into the complex testing to make sure they could get every last bit of gold out of the ground super efficiently. This is just a masterclass in playing the long game. And at the very same time, they were exploring like crazy, trying to find new gold to replace what they were mining. Just in 2023, they drilled 110 new holes at their main Bakan mine and even found a whole new area of interest. What this really shows is a relentless drive to keep the pipeline full. And you know what? It's working. Even after a decade of mining at Bakan, they actually have way more resources there now than when they started. It's pretty amazing. But this whole turnaround story isn't just about the money and the mining. PSAB got that to operate in the modern world. You need a social license. It's about being a real partner to the local communities and a good steward of the environment. So this is their official vision. They call it VIVA. And that word right in the middle, sustainability, that's the key. For them, it's not just some corporate buzzword. It's a huge part of their identity. So let's see how they actually put that passion into practice. Okay, this right here might be one of the most powerful data points in their whole story. They have a program that supports sustainable cocoa farming, and through it, local farmers near their Bakan mine are now making an average net income of over 30 million rupiah every single month. That is absolutely life-changing stuff, and it shows how a mine can create economic ripples that go way beyond just hiring people. Now, on the environmental side, they're tackling one of the biggest challenges in all of mining: acid line drainage. That's basically polluted runoff. Their strategy to stop it is actually pretty simple and clever. They find the rock that could cause a problem, they bury it deep inside the waste pile, and then they completely surround it with safe material. It's like they're building a natural protective cocoon that keeps oxygen out so the acid can't form in the first place. It's a really proactive, responsible way to handle it. And that commitment, it really shows up everywhere. You've got employees volunteering to teach hundreds of local kids, they're funding scholarships, they're helping build and fix up important community buildings like mosques and churches, and maybe the most critical thing of all, they have an impeccable safety record: 0 fatalities in 12 years. When you add all this up, you see a company that's really trying to be a good neighbor in every sense of the word. So, what does this all mean when you put it together? You've got the huge financial comeback, the smart long-term planning, and this really deep commitment to sustainability. What does that say about the future? Well, what it is really is a powerful case study in how to forge resilience. They got through the absolute worst of the pandemic, not by panicking, but by investing in their future while at the same time doubling down on their commitment to people and the planet. They basically proved you can be both profitable and principled. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. We live in a world where the demand for resources is just going up and up, but so is the demand for companies to be responsible. So is this the blueprint? Could this balanced model that PSAB has built, this blend of profit, people, and planet, actually become the new gold standard for the entire mining industry? It's definitely something to think about.